Hello from CES 2023. We are here near the end of the show, and this is Jason Heiner. I've got my teammate, Carrie Wan. We are going to talk to you about the stuff that we saw at CES, and not just some of our favorite things. We have some favorite products that we like, that we'd like to buy, but we're going to talk to you, because it's ZDNET and our focus is on disruptive innovation. We're going to talk about 6 products that we think will have an impact on the future. Other companies will be inspired by these products, will likely develop some similar technologies or integrate the technologies into their existing products, or they're going to have an impact on people in a positive way. So without further ado, Carrie, let's start with number 1 on our list, which was one of the ones we were most curious about coming here. I think we were hoping it was going to be interesting, and I think it surprised us even to the upside as how interesting it was, and that's the Displace Wireless TV. You got a really good look at this even before. You were the one that tipped me off to it before we got here, and we both got a chance to look at it. What do you think? There were a couple things they were trying to do that were pretty unique. This is really a TV show, right? Where there's so many TVs at this show, and has been for a long time. To do something like unique in TVs is hard to do. So why don't you talk a little bit about what are they doing that's interesting and unique?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of CES in general, we like to say that it's very much a TV show. There's a lot of companies, a lot of big companies as well, Samsung, LG, Sony every year, that really comes out with these big 8K, large 100-inch TVs that typically get all the headlines, right? So coming into CES, I was not expecting to look forward to looking at another TV but Displace really just came out of the blue. This was its first product. It's basically a 55-inch OLED TV, and it's wireless. So it doesn't need any cables. You basically just hang the TV anywhere you want, and from what we saw at least, it applies to really any surface. So they put it on the hotel wall, they put it on a glass window as well. And I actually checked out the product the day after, and they were doing it with a bunch of different surfaces as well at the booth at the actual CES convention. So it was definitely very interesting, and the idea is it's definitely very polarizing compared to what we typically see with general consumer TVs, and it's also not the cheapest TV at all. I think it's $2,999, they said.
Coming out later this year.
Later this year, yes. But if you really do want a TV where you don't need to plug in any cables, or perhaps you don't want to go through the hassle of mounting a TV, getting a dedicated mount for it as well, finding the sort of bolts in your wall as well for those type of situations, this makes it a lot more burdenless. And really just on top of that, the actual TV comes with 4 hot swappable batteries. So the company says on a typical day, if you're watching the TV for about 6 hours and you're doing that every day, the batteries will last you for a whole month. So after that, you could swap them out, charge them separately, and the best part is that you could charge it while still using the TV. So you could basically charge one cradle at a time. And if you're doing that, you could always just leave the TV there and keep watching.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about it was not needing a mount to do a TV. So that was pretty novel, pretty interesting, which is this idea that it has this these 2 panels on the back that use a vacuum suction technology. It's not a new technology, but it's new. It's being used in a unique way that they put up on a wall, and it actually sticks to the wall. Like you said, there was a wall that was kind of textured when I got my demo, and I was like, even they were kind of like, will it work on this wall? And worked great. And now it wasn't hanging there for a month. I did ask them, what if it starts to lose suction? Will on the app, will it cue you? He said, oh yeah, it'll cue you. It'll start making noises. It'll do all kinds of alerts. But they said that for most surfaces, you should never, once it's stuck up to the surface, you should never have to mess with it. Now the other thing, 2 things that were just to really double click on it for a second. This idea that you could have a TV that you move anywhere in the house is really interesting, because it sort of changes our idea of a TV. And they said, and think of it not as a TV, but more of a smart TV, a smart device. It does have a camera at the top, which we'll talk more in a minute about in a second. But now you can pop it in or pop it out very easily, which is nice. I liked that for privacy reasons. But they were like, you could use this as a Zoom device, right? You could do your Zoom calls with this. The camera's made for that kind of thing. And once you have it, they said, and then they're building intelligence into it so that if you have multiple of these TVs, if you're Zooming in one room and you move to another room, it'll automatically switch the call for you. Like those kinds of things. They are thinking about, like, if you change the user experience of the TV, how does that change the way you use it? I thought that was really interesting. So the other thing that really goes with that is they said that they're getting rid of remote. There will be no remote with this TV. They said the remotes are terrible. People don't, they get frustrated by them. I think that's going to be a challenge, but they're just using gestures in an app essentially to change channels, to find content. And they're doing this thing where you can flick you find a piece of content and you can flick it to the TV and that kind of thing. But you can also connect multiple TVs together. So if you had 4 of these, you could also bring all 4 of them together in one room. Like say you were having like a party, a watch party of some kind, and you had 4 TVs. I know that's kind of crazy, but there are people that have 4 TVs. Bring them together and you can make one giant TV out of it. That was a neat concept too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea because in total you get basically an 8K. 8K resolution
once you have
4 together. And the way that they pitched it to me was that all of your friends could bring their TVs and you could sort of hook it up.
Oh, I didn't hear that
like,
part. That's
if you're
great.
doing a viewing party for like a sports or like a game or whatnot, you could basically ask your friends and your family to bring their Displace TVs as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, the gesture controls thing, I think that was what really surprised us, at least. The fact, I mean, it's a wireless TV that's big on its own, but also the fact that you actually don't get a remote control to operate and navigate around the TV. Instead, you basically do a bunch of these cool different gestures that typically look like magic, but according to them at least, it's what their vision is, right? You could pinch against one screen as if like you're picking up salt, and then you could sprinkle it on another and it'll actually transfer the content over. And I mean, unfortunately, we couldn't really see that in practice.
Yeah.
They were still sort of setting everything up. But if that's what they're able to do, then I'm obviously looking very much forward to what they come out with later on.
Yeah, they were going all out with trying to really change the user experience of the TV. I think that's why we tip our hat to them, even though we're not sure all of those things, how well all of those things will work, but the fact that they really are thinking out of the box and could potentially make TVs better, and others are, if this concept works, likely others will start putting vacuum suction on the back of their TVs, as well, so that you don't need a mount to put it up, and do some of the other things as well. As maybe we'll see how the other ambitious things that they want to do go.
We'll see, but yeah, before we move into the next product, it is funny that even once Display sort of announced their product announcement at CES, we saw LG sort of tip an idea of like a wireless TV as well.
We have a wireless TV too.
Yeah, so I mean, they released a 97-inch, it's called the Signature M OLED TV, which is a similar premise where you have basically no cables except for one on that one, which is to power the TV.
It's mostly wireless.
Yeah, mostly wireless, sure, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they also had this sort of like one singular connecting box where you could put all of your I/O, you could connect your consoles and all of that to it. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, so yeah, I mean, it's the greatest form of flattery, right? So that's number 1, Displace Wireless TV. Number 2, let's talk about the Evie Ring by Movano, because they're also doing something a little different that caught our eye with the ways that they're bringing their technology. Now, this is a ring. It's a wearable device. It's a fitness tracker, but it's doing a couple of things different. One is it's trying to become and is on track to become the first FDA-approved wearable device, first medical grade FDA approved wearable device. So that's big. That means that when they say what your heart rate is, that it's accurate. One of the things that isn't as well known is there are a lot of these trackers, when they are trying to track certain things, temperature, heart rate, and blood oxygen even. They don't really have to be that accurate. Many of them actually aren't very accurate when you compare them to actual medical devices. So they're trying to hold, to sort of raise the bar on quality and accuracy for fitness trackers. So we have to just tip our hat to them for that.
Of course.
But I think the other thing that really interesting is that, and I know we've talked about this before because we cover wearables and that, almost all of these like watches and wearables, you can tell that they're designed often in Silicon Valley by mostly males because they really look very male, and then they'll add like a pink band, and then it's like, try to do something that makes them more fitting for women, which by itself is, not the only thing to do, right? But to make it for women. But this one's trying to do something different.
Yeah, and it's usually like a pink band or like a white band, or it's like a smaller size.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, even for me, I actually prefer like the smaller wrist sizes for watches anyways, so it's kind of applies to me as well. But in a way, like this is obviously a very like momentous product in a way because it's creating a product with women at the helm really, or like thinking women first.
The first product, the Evie, the one we're talking about, is aimed at women and women's health.
Exactly. So like in that fact, like I think that is much more different than the typical wearables that we see, even when you compare it to like the Oura Ring. And also, I mean, just mentioning Oura Ring, there's one more thing about the Movano Ring, which is the fact that, or the Evie Ring, which is the fact that they aren't subscription based. So like the Oura Ring, you will pay the flat, I believe it's $300 for the ring itself, and then you pay a subscription fee every month. This one is, they're trying to keep it under $300 is what they say, but there won't be a subscription fee at all. So it's flat rate, you get the ring, and then you could just live your life.
Yeah, and they do, like I said, the first product, the Evie, so Movano's making a number of different rings, and they've said that, but the first product they've brought to market that they're aiming to, again, be FDA-approved medical grade wearable, they're making the Evie is aimed solely at women. So it does cycle tracking, it does forms of mental health and other technical tracking that is aimed with women in mind. So they are going to make products for men too, but they said those will come afterwards. And so I think and they said they wanted to flip the script on purpose because, and they said, I think frankly they didn't say it this way, but because the market is so aimed at products that sort of where women's health has been an afterthought, they wanted to start there, and they feel like that's the opportunity for them to do something unique and do it really well. So have to tip our hat to that.
Yeah, and also with like the FDA clearance and everything, like obviously they don't have a set release date for it. So they're saying anytime in 2023 this year. So we'll keep an eye out for that.
Very good. Again, another one that could have an impact on the way other products are built, in the future if they're successful, and we think that it's likely that they will be. The product is it looks quite well designed as well and well thought out. So that's why it was number 2 on the list. So let's go to number 3, which is the HTC Vive, the new Elite headset, XR Elite that they announced. This one is interesting. You and I did a bunch of demos with this, and we neither of us got sick, so that was a plus.
That's true. Yeah.
But they was really interesting that they have launched at CES. They certainly could have had their own launch event and drawn a lot of attention, and so the fact that they launched here. And that this product is going to ship actually in the first quarter, they say, is a big deal, and it's probably the biggest product launch we've seen at CES in a while. And you and I felt like in the end it turned out to be worth it. Like it lived up to the billing. So why don't you talk first about kind of the hardware, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first impression for both of us was the fact that the headset's very light. So like for almost like a pro, quote unquote, headset, it's much more light than like the Quest Pro, which in a way that's the one that's trying to compete with. So it's not really just winning with price, where it's $1,099, which is undercutting the Quest Pro by about $400. But it's also much lighter. It uses some sort of aspects that are similar to the Quest Pro in a way, where it has that sort of like modular battery pack on the back of the headset. So it sort of, in a way, keeps your head balanced when you're using the headset, but at the same time it helps with endurance. In terms of the actual Vive itself, it actually does feel much more premium than I was expecting, especially after I saw the price as well. And I mean, it's kind of weird to associate premium hardware with lightness, but that was sort of like the balance that they were able to achieve. In terms of the actual headset itself, there are 6 cameras on the front, but 4 of the ones are the main ones for basically spatial sensing, where it's able to detect your surroundings, it's able to detect the objects around you. And I mean, from what we tested, it seems pretty accurate. So like when you're walking by a sofa or a chair or a person, or even when we're doing the canvas drawing experience, it'll know like when you're approaching like that limit to where you're interacting with the animations and where you are in real life. So I thought that was pretty nice. And I think there's one more thing that really stood out to me, at least. We typically see a lot of VR headsets on the market, AR and mixed reality as well. And not too many of them are catered to glasses wearers in a way, right? So like that might apply more to me. But so I do have a bit of a favoritism in a way, because basically what they're doing is not so much that you could use the headset with the glasses, but they're actually encouraging you to use it without your glasses. So you could, in a way, you could adjust the dial of the sort of linear vision of the headset, so that it basically matches your vision, whether you're farsighted or nearsighted. And from what I tested, at least, it worked pretty well. So it took me about 10 seconds in general to sort of calibrate it, but once I got that, the good thing is that there's a value to it. So when you are trying different other experiences, you'll know what sort of range you are at.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. I'm glad that you were there to try it, with your glasses too, because this is one of the long-standing arguments against some of these headsets is, well, what happens if you have glasses? And they've essentially built glasses kind of into the headset, and you just sort of dial in your prescription essentially into each eye.
I guess so.
And then it works. And I was really glad that it worked well for you. I was impressed by it too. It was way lighter than I expected. Over time, the high fidelity of the headsets, you can really tell the difference. And this one was really impressive, like the fidelity of it. It's still, and the field of view also, the wide field of view is really good. So those things aren't that new, but it was great to get that in such a light, portable headset. And I like that you could take the battery pack off. You can. And then it has that USB-C connection, and then the glasses really feel light. They're essentially the same weight as like just a sort of mid-range smartphone at that point. And you can take that USB-C and you could plug it into your computer and get like PC VR, or you could plug it into where you get power, and then you could plug it into your battery pack, stick in your back pocket, and have an even lighter experience, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, and a couple of the experiences that we actually tried was literally just us standing there and looking around. And I could imagine that that's sort of the use case that they're imagining, where you'll basically use that glasses mode, where you could chill on the sofa, you could put that on, and you could probably prop it into a battery pack or some sort of power source, and you could just hang out for the most part. And at the same time, it's much lighter as well, because I think with just the sort of glasses form factor, it's about 200 or 300 grams in weight, so that was pretty impressive to me.
It's very cool. And the thing that I think is forward-facing on this, and why this really made our list, because it's a good headset. It's incrementally better than previous ones, and as good or better than other options on the market. But what really sets this apart is the work that HTC is doing to try to move the metaverse into an open metaverse. And they were real honest about saying, like, the metaverse isn't here yet. What we have now are little approximations of it, and we're trying. But they have, like, this headset will work with content from your phone, from your PC, as well as from their platform itself. So it's very platform agnostic to a sense. And they are also working with other folks that want to build an open platform, like Lamina One. That's the company from Neil Stevenson. We have an interview with Neil as well, so take a look at that on our YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok coming up in the next couple of days. But then they're also working with, they say everybody else who wants to work toward an open ecosystem, an open metaverse, they want to work toward as well. Not because they think that they need to or want to, or that it's more profitable, but because they feel like that's the bigger picture is better that way. Like they don't want to be AOL or Prodigy, they want to be the open internet,
Yeah.
And so I really have to tip their hat to them to have a product that's this good and that says, you know what, we're gonna build this try to do it in an open standards way. That's a pretty big moment for the metaverse, and I think people were still trying to decide, do we care about the metaverse? And I think this announcement and the fact that they're doing it in an open way makes the question of like, should you care about the metaverse maybe a little bit more present, a little more like, yes, here's some reasons to care about it.
And almost in a way, like I see this as sort of like HTC's Meta Quest 2 moment or Oculus Quest 2 moment, because it's really just about them generalizing their product, right? Making it more applicable to really every kind of user. And like you mentioned earlier on, we're at CES, and this is when at least most VR companies, they're trying to get as flashy as possible. They're showing you a lot of like this motion sensing, motion tracking technology. They're showing you different ways that you could interact with the things that are basically in the digital or virtual world. And HTC is really just going for textbook play here, right? They're going for the 4K display, they're going for the 90 hertz. They're not going too crazy on it, right? And the price sort of justifies it as well. But they're really just playing this midfield where I think a lot of, at least VR users or casual VR users, have felt a bit left out in a way over the past year or two at least. So at least now more than ever, they have more options, and HTC is one of them.
They're also giving people an on-ramp if you don't buy a headset. They're with Viveverse, I think it's Viveverse.com, where you can go, you can start to create an avatar, you can start to get a sense for what's going on from your phone, from your computer, and you can start to sort of have your on-ramp to what like metaverse might look like or feel like for free, and get started. So I think they're doing all the right things to make the metaverse more like what they call the 3D internet, powered by AI, essentially, and that for that reason, it definitely earned a place, on the list. Okay, number 4 is this Lenovo wireless docking station, which is powered by Synaptics. This is one that is really interesting because this is a product that could affect the future of the way we work in a kind of a hybrid world. And it's kind of a small innovation, but one that could have like a large impact on a lot of everyday lives. Maybe not in 2023, but it could have the way other products are built in the future. Do you want to talk just maybe a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get the actual physical briefing of it. I know you got hands on it, but I do have a pretty good general gist of it, I guess. So, I mean, for the most part, it's basically this wireless dock that you could station your ThinkBook on. I believe it's the 13X model that it's compatible with. And it has a 45-watt charging on the main sort of base surface. And then there is an extension, which is this second mini wireless charging dock that's attached to it. And that charges at 10 watts, I believe. So the intention here is that you would basically put your laptop on the main station, and then you would put some accessories on the side. You could put your wireless earbuds or your smartwatch, even if it supports wireless charging. And really the coolest part out of all of that is that there is also support for external monitors. So you could hook up to 2 monitors, and it is a 4K 60 hertz output. So basically you set your laptop onto the dock. You don't need to attach the laptop itself to anything. You just need the dock itself to do all the work.
Yeah, so the thing that I liked about this is because when I think about this, I think about in a hybrid world, it's not really that applicable if you just have one dock. I mean, maybe in your house, you want to be able to pick your laptop up, and then sometimes you want to go just when you get to your desk, just set it down, and it automatically pops up on your 2 screens. Awesome. But I think it could also be really cool in business when, your whole floor essentially has it, and you're hot desking. Maybe if you're working in a hybrid environment and you don't have a set desk, but you can just pop it into this desk, and then later you're sort of having a meeting on the 5th floor, and you're in a conference room. You pop it down, and it can work there, and go up on sort of a TV or something. And then like, oh, while I'm up here, I'm going to go and work with the marketing team while I'm up here, and you go and you sit there, and it automatically works. It charges, it connects to 2 monitors, and away you go. I mean, that's going to be a really nice scenario I think a lot of people will welcome. Now, we have it pretty good today. It's not that it's a huge problem to solve. You can just plug a USB-C in and get a lot of you can get your monitor or monitors in many cases.
Just one cable.
That's cable, it. Right? Which is awesome. But cables do wear out. You still have to, make sure that you have a good USB-C cable, the right one, and all of that. So I think that this is one that is interesting and certainly is going to affect other products. Lenovo has the one that was announced, but there's also Synaptics is the one who makes the technology. They are doing one with Targus, which is an accessory maker that works with multiple kinds of laptops. So they have that. I would expect they're going to partner with Synaptics, who makes the technology for this, likely to partner with others to do this as well. And then they're also doing this presence technology called EMSA, where it recognizes if you're actually at your laptop. So, and then if you're there or if you're away, Dell and Panasonic and some other partners have worked with this, that if you're not at the machine, it'll automatically put it into a low power mode, right? So that it saves some battery as well. So some nice sort of technology that's going to sort of, we were looking at coming into the show, we wanted to find those kind of smart technologies that just work and you don't have to sort of mess with a bunch of settings and set them up. And I think this one kind of applies using some AI, using some smarts to just make life better for sort of everyday workers.
Yeah, and it seems like just every company doesn't want cables anymore, I guess. TVs and
that's
products
right.
as well.
No, that's right. That's a theme now, isn't it? Yeah, the wireless world.
I'm here for it.
There we are. All right, very good. Let's talk about one more technology that is wireless because it's a phone. No, Samsung.
Sure.
So a couple years ago, there was this big push in foldables. You've covered mobile a lot, and so you know it well. That was at the Mobile World Congress 2019 was sort of the peak of it, where everybody was announcing a foldable. And then they didn't sell great. They ran into the pandemic, which maybe had an effect on it for sure. But they were sort of a solution looking for a problem in some people's minds.
Yeah.
And so a lot of companies have kind of, strayed away. It was not a popular thing to come out with a foldable the last couple years. And so this was the first show where we came back where we had Samsung Display, which is separate from Samsung Electronics, as many of you know. They're sort of like a component maker, who makes a lot of the technologies. And this is the first time that we saw an opportunity for them to share in a couple years their vision of where it's going. And while all these other companies have kind of, gotten off the bandwagon on foldables, Samsung Display, they doubled down in a big way with the ones this year. And so I saw this one, went to see all of these prototypes. There's really about 8 or 9 different ones. And we talked about them. The one that I think, they have ones that fold, but not just fold once. Now they have ones that are almost like accordion fold, that fold 3 times. And then they have 2 different kinds of 3-fold ones, right? Some fold out. There's the Fold S that looks like an S when it's on the side, and they have the Fold G that sort of folds over on itself. And then they have the roll out displays, as well. So ones that you have a regular phone, and then if I have this phone, and then the side just sort of rolls out. It's like a hidden display, and it just extends it. So it fits in your pocket most of the time, but when you're ready to sort of look at some more content or do some more work, it pops out. But as we were talking about, the one that was most impressive was this hybrid, that it's a fold, kind of like today's Fold, which you've used a lot of. But it folds out. It's a little bit bigger. It looks more like a book. And then it also rolls out. So you have this little phone, not little, but a more regular size-ish sort of foldable phone, and then it folds out, and then it rolls out some more. So I think that one was sort of a standout just for the ingenuity that it took to even make that prototype. But maybe the bigger thing that you and I talked about was it just shows that they're still all in on foldable. Yeah. Everybody else is out, but Samsung is all in. You've used the Fold, the Samsung Galaxy Fold, the last few generations. So what was your thought in seeing these and seeing the fact that they're really sort of doubling, tripling down, on foldables?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing was that I was not surprised at all because we've been seeing Samsung doing this for years now, right? Even before the first Galaxy Fold, they were releasing all these concepts, and you would see people talking about all these like trademarked designs and patents, right? So, I mean, leading up to this point, like you said, there's actually not that many more competitors anymore in terms of foldables, right? Like during CES or even during MWC, we typically see companies like TCL even trying to make a sort of pitch into foldables. They'll do flip phones and clamshells and also like the wider tablet style ones as well. And even Lenovo, we talked about it as well, right? Like Lenovo typically, they have like a Lenovo ThinkFold X, which has that sort of bending display, and they didn't do anything this year as well. So I mean, to your point, like Samsung's really, again, doubling down on their foldables, and I think the best part is that they're justifying it, right? Each foldable, they're giving you a reason as to why it makes sense. Yeah. And while it might, it'll probably convince us a lot better than the typical consumer, right? For sure. But at the same time, at least they're trying to like make a push for it, right? They're trying to expand beyond just that one single fold. And who knows, maybe next CES we'll see like a fold that flips and folds and bends and twists and slides as well.
Does all of it. We get to our last item, number 6 on the list, was maybe the most fun. Yeah. We thought we would throw this one on there. ZDNET, our focus is on innovation. Our focus is really on core tech and cutting edge tech. We don't usually cover much pet tech. But we had one that we threw on.
We just had to do it.
We just had to do it. We threw this one on because we saw the product, the Fluent Connect is the one that was...
The FluentPet Connect.
FluentPet Connect, thank you, which was really interesting. You saw this one. I think to tee it up, to say that, a lot of people over the last couple years, there's been this a new surprising TikTok star named Bunny the dog, and Bunny knows like can communicate over 90 words by pushing buttons and communicating with their owner. TikTok called it the sort of amazing talking dog, New York Times called Bunny the sort of the famous talking TikTok dog. Bunny's got like 8 million followers on TikTok, but I'm sure lots of people have thought, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be able to communicate with my pet, my dog or my cat. And the interesting thing is that product that Bunny was using was actually made by FluentPet. But they have a new product that they announced here at CES, and you saw it, and you were impressed by it, and you thought that there's, and it made me think of the fact that a lot of people have bought pets over the pandemic, and or have gotten closer to their pets over the pandemic. Sure. And so probably more people than ever are interested in could they communicate better with their pet. But talk to us a little bit about FluentPet Connect.
Yeah, I mean, and as a person who doesn't own any pets and lives around a bunch of neighbors who has a lot of pets, yeah, I was surprised that I was actually intrigued to know a little bit more about the company and their product as well. So like you said, it's called the FluentPet Connect. And from like a base level, it's basically conditioning your pet, right? So it could be
classical
for a dog.
Conditioning, right? Classical
conditioning, yeah. So it could apply to a dog or a cat. And the idea is that you'll train them to basically press a button whenever there is a scenario happening. So that could be you feeding them a treat, or you giving them water, or someone walking by, or even the sound or like an audio cue. So in this case, as you train your pet to do more and more sort of signals, eventually they'll naturally click that signal when something happens, right? So in this case, maybe on like a more base and user-friendly level, sure, if the pet is hungry, you'll press a button and you'll give them a treat.
Sure.
But later on, as you get a little more sort of familiar with the product in a way, the pet, you could basically train the pet to press a button when there is a stranger walking by.
Or the mail carrier comes, or UPS
that as well.
comes or something.
Yeah, so once you condition them, so if they happen to walk by, they'll press the button, it'll actually trigger an alarm or a notification on your phone, so that even if you're not with your pet and you can't hear the actual audio cue from your house, or if you're in the same room, you'll get that sort of reminder on your phone. So use case wise, it's like if you have headphones on and you can't hear your pet or you can't hear the doorbell, you'll see on your phone that someone is approaching the door. Or even if you're not home and maybe there's an intruder or a stranger that's loitering, then you could basically, hopefully your pet will do the job there and press the button and let you know. So that's basically what it is. And I think it is much more practical than we think, and much more applicable as well, because like you said, more than ever, people have pets.
Yeah. Really interesting product, one that certainly more people are going to be interested in. Bunny has 8 million followers, so there's a lot of people who are interested in this idea. Many more than that have certainly seen the videos, of Bunny.
Yeah, and apparently, except for me.
Except for you, okay. Yeah. I've definitely seen them, or my family has shown them to me, and so I know that there are lots of people who've bought pets during the pandemic. You live in New York. There are a lot more pets in New York than there were before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so definitely a product that more people are likely to be interested in, and could sort of change the future of pet care as well, right? If people can train their pets to communicate better, then in one sense, there are also the problem after the pandemic of more pets are getting sent to the to the pound, to shelters, because of people now getting back to their lives and they don't have the time to take care of them. But if they could communicate better with their pets, then potentially that could make them also be able to care for their pets better as well. So very interesting product. Well, Carrie, there are other products that our team, these were, as we said, these are the most innovative products that we found would have the best impact and the biggest impact on the future. But there are also products that are favorites that didn't make the list. Ones from our teammates who sent us some, ones that you saw that I saw. And so if people want to see those, they can go to ZDNET.com and read all of our stories that we've put up on all of the products of CES 2023. But otherwise, that's a wrap from CES 2023.
It is.
So yeah, we made it. All right, thanks everybody for watching. See you next year for CES, and see you on Monday for more content from ZDNet. Bye everybody.
Bye.